Actually, we're looking for ways to make our kids better writers. We felt like we were running investigations, we were doing a really good job with science, but we just weren't getting the writing that we wanted to. And so one of our partner teachers who taught fifth grade with us at the time kind of came across this in her work with the Department of Ed and the EAEA, this idea of a science writing heuristic. So since it had writing in the name, we felt like that was going to be our ticket to getting our kids to be better writers. It ended up being a whole lot more than we thought it would be. It wasn't just about writing, but it was really about your pedagogy and teaching and what you believe about teaching and learning. And I had a lot of changing to do, and there were a lot of ways where I could be better, and it's to have a conversation that I'd never had before. I'd been in education for my whole college career and had been teaching for a couple of years when we got started. Nobody had ever really asked me what teaching was or what learning was. We didn't just learn how to get kids to write. We learned how to teach science and how to teach everything, because I changed what I believed about teaching and learning, and so then everything I was doing changed. When we would ask kids to write about a science investigation or anything science really, it became more of just a list. So if my kids were to run an investigation, trying to figure out how weight might affect force, when they would go to write up what they learned, it was really just writing down the procedure. Well, we ran a test and we dropped a bottle full of water and we tried to launch an empty bottle and we calculated. They didn't write about what they were learning. They were just writing about what they did, and we weren't sure how to change that. Or when they did write about their learning, they would only write about, it was just copying the research that they had found. There was no putting together the test and what they found and what they knew, and really coming up with how their ideas and thoughts had changed and what they learned and what they wanted to communicate to other people. And we weren't sure how to get that out of a fifth grader other than telling them that. But then it was just kind of back what we had said we wanted. And so we were hoping that the science writing heuristic could help us figure out, how do we get them to just write deeper? We knew that they were writing very surface level. Like before, I felt like it was my job to make sure that my kids had the knowledge, that I had it, I gave it to them, they knew it, and we could go from there. And when Brian started challenging what learning was, and we started really having to kind of reflect on how we learn as a person, nobody gives me anything. I have to decide whether or not I believe what I'm reading or what I'm hearing you say or what I'm seeing, and that's my decision. And for kids it's the same way. So why did I feel like I could stand up, and if I told them, or if they heard it, or if they read it, that they would instantly have it and we could move on, and that assessments didn't necessarily make the most sense for me to say it and then assess them on it? Could they use it? Could they come back to it later on? Did they have it? Could they make it their own? And were they really in charge? If they're in charge of learning, they have to have a bigger role in what's happening in the classroom. They can't just be sitting. They have to be talking. And so for me, as someone who got into teaching because I talked a lot and now I get paid for it, that was kind of a little bit of a wake-up. Brian told me many times, sit down and be quiet. Let them talk. And that was so powerful, because I can't know where to start if I don't know what they know. Because I could be teaching something we've already as a whole understand, now I'm wasting my time, or they could say it but not really understand it because it's what they've heard, not something that they actually understand. They're just repeating it back. So I have to give them opportunities in my classroom to talk so that I know where they're at and where we can go. It's not a free-for-all. They don't get to choose everything, but I do have to give them an opportunity to talk and to work with things and to play with things so that I can see, where are we, what do we really have, where do we need to go, and to give them some ownership. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I took away and continue to be amazed at, is if I get out of their way, what they really are capable of doing. They don't need me all the time to be the one to have the idea or to tell them what to do or to figure it out. If I get out of the way, if they have a big idea and a general, buy-in to feel like they matter and they're important and their questions are going to be answered, they can do a lot. They can write their own investigation. They can ask their own good questions. And a lot of times it's much better than it would have been had it come from me, because it's genuine and they want to know and they get fired up and excited about it. I think negotiation is just an opportunity to get your thinking out there, and to be able to have time to think about it and wrestle with it and weigh in on it and get feedback on what you're thinking. So kids have an opportunity to kind of formulate their own ideas, and to work through it, figure it out, and then to share it. Like, here's what I'm thinking, what are you thinking? So that I can start to weigh in, okay, that's what you thought, that's not what I thought, how are we different, why are we different, what can we do to figure out if it's okay that we're different, or whether we need to work somehow to become more similar in what we're thinking. Are we talking about two different things so we both could be accurate, or are we talking about the same thing and now we need to start figuring out, okay, how come you got something different than I did? Where's the breakdown? And I think the power in it is kids have to start really coming up with their own ideas. And they want to know what other people think. They want to know whether or not their thinking matches someone else's or why it doesn't. And it's fun to get to the point where they kind of almost like to disagree with each other then, because that means we can do an investigation or we need more research. And so it's not oh, my idea is not the same, I'm going to quit talking, or I'm going to kind of shy away. Nobody knows until we do the research, or until we, whether or not we're right. So it's kind of fun to put it out there and see how many ideas we have, and now what do we do with these ideas? Oh, we all are already similar. Like, who knew? Giving them an opportunity to talk and really delve into it. They're not just sitting all day, and they get fired up and excited, and you'll see some kids have to stand up. They get so excited that they almost can't sit in their chair, and letting them know that their thinking matters. They're willing to say, okay, but did you, can you bring it in? Like, can we all look at it? Let's all take a look at it. Or can we pull it up on the internet and see can we find it in other sources? So that's one source. Maybe we should try to find it in another place. And they have an avenue to do that without sounding like, I just don't believe you, or you don't know what you're talking about. We really work hard at the beginning to talk about, it's about the idea. So when I disagree with something, I'm disagreeing with your idea, not with necessarily you as a person. So it's more about your idea, not about you. And so we work really hard we don't elevate our voice. If I'm disagreeing with your idea, I don't need to yell at you for it. And so we really work on kind of those just rules of conversation. We need to be respectful. And then we really focus on, kind of one thing that I really try to focus and work with my kids on is, it should make us better. So whatever we're doing should make us better. And my goal is to make you better. My goal is to make me better. We're all trying to move forward in what we understand about science.